Welcome in episode number 89 of the St0ner Sports Radio podcast. Welcome in. Bracket is set. Everything is ready to go. Bowl games are here. So the holiday season is here. Everything you could want or need to know, we will have it for you. We have Heisman coming up as well. We'll talk about that as we get set for Heisman Army Navy weekend here at the St0ner Sports Radio podcast studio. Joining me once again and always is friend and co-host Zach Huffman at the Huffman Cave, across the world and across the country, and actually really just a stone's throw. But that's not the point. Welcome in, Zach. Another Be Happy Friday. How are we feeling as the NCAA football season is winding down?
We're feeling good. Predictions, they mostly were pretty accurate, I think, for us this season. I want to mention I'm here chilling in my Mike Conley jersey. I think everybody needs to know that. Important veteran role player on the Grizzlies. He was nasty. We'll talk about that. But, yeah, we're winding down. OU made a bowl. I think that's all I could ask for. Thunder are doing well. It's all more of the same, really. I mean,
yeah, it's been an eventful week. Let's go ahead and just jump into it, Zach. I mean, conference championship weekend, plenty to get into. We were live Friday for some Boise State UNLV kickoff and had Army and Tulane kind of going simultaneously with our broadcast here. No real surprise in outcomes, in my opinion. I had Army winning against Tulane. I had Boise State to most likely beat UNLV. I picked UNLV to win at the sports book, but I wouldn't put my confidence there at an all-time 10. It was more just because I kind of wanted to see chaos. I'm not going to lie about that. But what was your takeaway from those two that happened on Friday?
Yeah, I was a little shaky on the Army-Tulane game. I kind of thought Tulane might actually win that one decidedly, and I think I just underestimated this Army team more than I should have. But in terms of the Boise State UNLV game, I'm with you. I wanted chaos, but I knew that Genty was going to run for 32 carries, 209 yards with one touchdown to try to lock up his Heisman season. And, that happened. He got his 209, and he led them to that victory like I thought he would, and it wasn't even a question of if I think UNLV is a better team or not than Boise, because I know they are. I know UNLV is a better team than Boise, but there's not a player on that field that is half as talented as Ashton Genty, and I think that's what it came down to on that Friday.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. The shocking part to me was just how Boise State handled the UNLV offense. I've been hearing so much about OC Marion and just his go-go offense, and just kind of how exciting it is to see this UNLV Rebels team go up and down the field, and they go scoreless for 3 straight quarters. And granted, they shut out Boise State in the second half, but they just couldn't get anything going until it just didn't matter anymore. And granted, it just it did really kind of hinge on Genty, right? I mean, it was just kind of one of those things where it was like they can't stop him defensively. And they didn't really ask Madsen to do much. They haven't had to do that all season. I think that's going to change when the playoff comes, but I think we'll cross that bridge when we get there here in this episode. But I think overall, like you said, the only surprise for most people was how Army handled Tulane, just considering what people think about Army and the quality of team that they are compared to Tulane, and just kind of the expectations of, these are service academy teams that, just kind of skate by and don't play anybody. So, Tulane, even though they are in the same conference, they've got more athletes, which I don't debate. I don't debate that Tulane has more athletes than Army. I just think Army's, like you said, a better team, and those service academies always attack their opponent as a unit.
Yeah, 100%. And that, I think that's why I underestimated them, because I'm just thinking they don't have anybody that's really, besides that quarterback, that's really just any of these athletes on Tulane. I've seen Tulane play OU, and I thought that they would. I thought if we had played Army, we would beat them 70-0. So, that's I gotta apologize to my boys.
Yeah, I mean, you've got more Service Academy problems on the horizon, so we'll we'll
Oh,
we'll we'll we'll, we'll get into that later. Um,
oh, they suck.
um, Saturday's games were the big boy games, as they say, Zach. Let's start with big boy game number one. I'll go ahead. I'll put my team on the platter. They were not the first game of the afternoon, but they were one of the closer games. The final scores would not dictate that the other two games were not close, considering the other went into overtime and the other one was a 3-point win. But it was one of the more. It was the highest scoring conference championship game of the weekend, and that's what made it exciting. Um, of course, for me personally, as an Oregon Ducks fan, I was concerned about kind of the defensive performance, but I mean, it's just you're gonna have games where you give up some points sometimes, and I think they weren't really excited to go against this Penn State team. I'm not gonna lie. I think they were just kind of like, if this were Ohio State, maybe my nipples would have been a little bit harder, but they might get their shot at them anyways. Again, we'll get into that later. But what was your takeaway? Oregon wins this one 45-37. Big Ten champs. What was your takeaway?
Yeah, I thought Dylan Gabriel looked amazing. I mean, stats-wise, 22 of 32, 283, 4 touchdowns. But in terms of the team, I'm with you. I don't think Oregon really got up for this one, and I wouldn't be surprised if Lanning told them, "Hey, we're either the 1 or we're the 5." So I'm cool with either spot. I don't care if you put too much effort into that game against Penn State. I think the players still wanted to win, obviously. I don't think that's a question. But I do think they might hold back a little bit to avoid getting injured on certain tackles because you want to save yourself for the playoff. I guarantee Dylan Gabriel wasn't going to let himself get hit very much. I mean, that's just kind of how it goes when you got the playoff locked up no matter what. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think that Oregon could have beat them by 3 touchdowns had they really showed up the way I thought they were going to. I mean, that first half was pretty good. Oregon was just slow in the second half. I don't really know what was going on there. Maybe it was a halftime speech of, "Hey guys, let's calm down. It's okay." So that's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah, well, and it's been the theme all season with Oregon is first half points, second half drought, or second half coast. You could say coast because they're never losing at halftime. That's the thing. I mean, we were up 18 at one point in this game early on, and people were like, "Oh, this is gonna get ugly." And I was like, "Oh, I really hope this gets ugly because then we can get the backups in and just coast." We were on the verge. We were on the verge of seeing some Dante Moore, some action from backup quarterback number 2 here. Like you said, I think a lot of players were avoiding hits, and the one player that was avoiding a lot of hits was Tez Johnson because he broke like 90 people's ankles on like 90% of his catches after the yards after the catch were insane. I mean, he looks like a gazelle out there with the football. He'd been kind of confined the last couple of weeks. He hadn't really had a double digit catch game or anything like he had in this type of situation before, and if this is what we are to expect from the production of just him alone throughout this playoff run for them, that could be dangerous for a lot of people because don't forget about Evan Stewart, don't forget about Trayshawn Holden, don't forget about these other guys, that if you focus too much on Tez Johnson, it ain't gonna matter. Like we got some people. So I just think it was his night to have the rock because people have been trying to shut down Evan Stewart so much. He was super quiet. I don't even think he had a catch. Didn't need one because everybody was, leaving Tez, wide open, I say, even though it was mainly him just running away from people after he got the football. But, I mean, should Oregon fans be concerned about, teams trying to take away deep threats like Evan Stewart if they're going to leave players like Tez Johnson open? No.
No, I wouldn't be concerned either way. I mean, I think of this very similarly to how I think of the Vikings situation in Minnesota, right? You put your best DB on Jordan Addison, and then you double Justin Jefferson with the next 2 on the roster. I feel like that's kind of the game plan with Oregon. You got to get Evan Stewart, and then you have to cover Tez Johnson because he can. God damn it, he can be a deep threat anytime he wants to be. Listen, I said this before the season started. I thought Tez Johnson was the best receiver in the country. Obviously, he didn't win Blitnikoff, but we'll get into that one, I guess. But I think that he's going to be a weapon in these playoffs. If people aren't going to cover him, if they're going to show all their attention to Evan Stewart, other receivers, then 100%. I would pick. And like we'll say later, I mean, Oregon is probably going to win the national championship because of it.
Yeah, lots of talent on that field, and a good win. And like you said, if they were, I mean, again, we're at this point in time, Zach, where winning or losing your conference championship doesn't necessarily mean you're out of the conversation for a national title. And I think that's weird for a lot of college football fans to wrap their minds around, because we used to put so much weight on these games over the weekend because it really dictated who's going to get, in those final four spots. And now, like you said, it's like, Landon could have been in there at halftime, like, look, man, like, we're in a good spot right now. You guys want this, go get it. But don't think that if they end up winning this game, that you don't have a chance to redeem yourself. This is not a win and go home situation. But if you want to treat it like that, you go ahead and treat it like that.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
So that was yeah.
Well, I was about to say I was going to segue into Georgia here.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
We were talking about Oregon being a terrible first half or a second half team. Terrible second half team, great first half team. Georgia has the opposite problem, right? So in this Georgia-Texas game, Georgia starts out 0 points in the first quarter, 3 points in the second quarter, really slow offense, still holding Texas to only field goals because that's what their defense does. But still, you're down 6-3 at halftime. You're not liking it. Second half rolls around. What does Georgia do? 10 points in the third, first touchdown of the game. I mean, if I'm a Duck fan, I'm worried about Georgia and only Georgia because of this reason. But in terms of the Texas-Georgia game, what a game if you love defense, right? I mean, Texas' defense looked amazing. Georgia's defense looked amazing. Quarterbacks were terrible. I mean, we all know what ended up happening in the quarterback situation for Georgia. I don't remember the kid's name right now.
Gunnar Stockton, baby.
Gunnar Stockton. And he's terrible. But you know what? God damn it, he won the game. So we'll see what he can do through the playoffs. I'm not confident in Georgia making the national championship based on what happened in this game. Injuries are the only reason I'm not confident in Georgia winning this national championship or even getting to it. So, yeah. In terms of the, conference game mattering, this is another example of that, where you have two teams that are, what were they? They were 11-1 and 10-2. I mean, either of them are probably making the playoffs. If Georgia loses, they're a three-loss team, but the committee says that they don't care about losing. If they don't care about the conference championship games, they won't punish you for making those. So I think this is another one of those situations where I don't know if either of these teams really showed up to play. If anyone would have showed up, it was Georgia, because they kind of needed it to guarantee that they were going to get into the playoffs. But this game, honestly, really, really loved it. I thought it was, came down to the wire. Overtime is always fun. If you love watching kicks, I mean, it was a great game for kickers. It's a great game for punters. I actually really enjoy those kind of games. It reminded me of an old-style Big Ten game.
Yeah, it was giving those. It was giving 9-6 Alabama LSU as well. It was giving flashbacks of that historic game of the century that came down to no touchdowns. I'll never forget that stuff. And then they had the rematch in the national championship. So I mean, I think I think that's something to think about there. And I don't think we're going to see a rematch here between Texas and Georgia in the national championship, though. I think that's a big difference here. I'm going to go ahead and agree with you here that I don't believe Gunnar Stockton is going to be the guy that's going to lead Georgia to a national title. I don't think that's going to be the case. Bless his heart. I mean, he's going to try his darndest, and I think he could get one. He could get one or two. He could give them a shot. I don't think that this means Georgia's a pushover because, again, a lot of people were saying this, and this game proves it again, is bet goes down, Stockton comes in, you're losing, and then the next thing you know, this backup quarterback is leading these Georgia Bulldogs down the field for a touchdown, and then sure, you give up some points there in the fourth, Texas, and they tie it up, yada-yada-yada. But, I mean, this is something that you can look at as a Georgia fan and be like, okay, we're not super boned, because the unit as a whole, just kind of like Army, they just have a lot of talent, and you're not going to just be able to knock Georgia over just because their quarterback is That's the problem. Is they don't need a quarterback to like win games, but they're going to need one in order to win it all. That's the point I'm getting at. Is Etienne can take you. Etienne can take you so far. I mean, Delp can help you out so far, but I don't really think Gunnar Stockton is going to be good enough in the big moments to do things. And this Georgia defense is not like a generational, once in a century defense like some teams that we've seen before, where it really doesn't matter what the offense does. The defense might even score more for you.
Yeah, 100%. Now, one thing about Gunnar Stockton is he might have been able to lead them on a drive when he comes in, and no one has any film on him. I mean, this is what I'm worried about for the playoffs, because they don't play. I don't know when Georgia's next game would theoretically be, but it's a while. And whether it's because it's Notre Dame or Indiana, both of those coaches are going to be just sifting through as much Gunnar Stockton tape as they can find. And that is going to be bad for Georgia. I mean, if the second that a team learns his tendencies, it might be over. And I don't know if they're going to be able to have a passing offense in any of these games. The question is, will that matter? Will them not being able to throw the ball matter? Can their defense carry them to a national championship off the back of ETN on offense?
Yeah, and we'll talk more about it when we get into more of playoff talk. But I think you're on the right path there. I think that's another thing that people don't think about is there's a difference between not even expecting a guy to play and then having that be the guy for the rest of the season. What goes into preparation for that? And again, you're going to be looking at mostly high school footage of this guy because those were the reps, like, and
if Freeman's worth anything,
yeah,
then he'll be spying on practice.
Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna say. Like Marcus Freeman, defensive-minded head coach, would be trouble for you. If it's Indiana, how do you feel about that game? If Indiana beats Notre Dame,
Indiana.
Okay.
I think Georgia beats Indiana anytime, no matter what.
Okay.
I just don't think Indiana's got the talent.
Yeah. No, I
about the bracket, I'll talk about Notre Dame.
Yeah. But yeah, that was the SEC 22-19 Georgia SEC champs. They get the first round bye, which is pretty much what they were playing for with that one. Heading into the other games of that weekend, ACC championship game, 34-31, Clemson gets the win over SMU. A 66-yard field goal for the win. It's the win for the Tigers, and this one looked like overtime as well, possibly here, as SMU scored super late to tie this thing up for the moment, and then one big kick return later directly after that touchdown, and a couple decent plays, and you just let the man go out there and you say, hey, look, man, you make this, we win. You lose, we're going to win it in OT, no pressure. And no pressure works sometimes, these kickers, man. And I think, like you said earlier this season, I mean, we're seeing the age of kickers being like, are you good from 70? Because, I mean, we might have to kick this thing. And, we're seeing it right now, man. I mean, these kids are at 66. If you were walking up to an NFL kicker like 15 years ago and going, we need this from 66, he's like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can get it there. But now, I mean, these kids are looking at, players like Brandon Aubrey and Justin Tucker growing up, and look at them now. They're hitting 60-yarders like it's nothing.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, I watched a great Oklahoma kicker, Gabe Burkage. I watched him before a game hit a 65-yarder. Like, they can do it. It's a question of they put all of their power into that kick and they pray it's accurate. I think that's really what it is. You're just putting as much leg as you can. You don't really worry if it goes left or right. You just hope it goes center. But I mean, this kid, from 56, that's huge. To win a game, a conference championship, and secure your team a playoff spot that you would not get if you lost this game. That's an insane pressure situation. And hey, he hit it, and that's all that matters. I think what this game really told everyone, though, is that SMU is a team, and they're not just a blow-off team in the playoff. Clemson is a good team. I think people have a hard time understanding that going into the playoffs here. They have experience. They have a two-time national champion coach. They have been here before, where a lot of these other guys haven't. But SMU took them right down to the wire, especially late in the fourth quarter. And Kevin Jennings, I thought he looked amazing in the second half. That first half was rough, but I mean, he turned it on in the second half. So maybe if SMU is a second half team, that's going to benefit them a lot in the playoff.
Yeah, if that's a trend, that could help them out big time there. Again, this was a 31-14 game heading into the fourth quarter. I was almost just halfway paying attention at that point because I was like, man, this is ugly. Like, this get bad. Like, it's not looking good. Then you look up, you're like, is it really? They say 28-31. Like, what the hell is this? Or what was it? It was crazy. It just kind of unfolded there and made me kind of concerned for Clemson there, letting your foot off the gas a little bit. But I think, to your point, I think it also proves that SMU's not just gonna fold. I mean, it's like, you think we're just gonna fold? I mean, I did as a viewer. I folded. I was like, I'm out. It's like, and I tuned back in. I was like, let's see how this goes. And once they scored, I was like, well, you can't screw up here. And after I saw the kick return, I said, this thing's over. You know why? Dabo's got Jesus on his side. Everything is possible. We don't take no NIL. No, but
Phelps was in a high pressure situation.
No, and to your other point, I mean, Garrett Hartley, another example of a guy who was hitting from 70 without pads on pregame for many years in an OU jersey, and then had a very decent kicking career with New Orleans. He also was, but I think the difference, like you said, is you go into a game and you're like 66. There's a lot more factors in it because you got to think, I got to get this off quick because if I take my time like I do in warm-ups, this thing's getting fucking blocked. I got to make sure that it's high enough as well because, again, there's going to be people in my way, and in warm-ups, there ain't nobody there. It's just air. I mean, those are the two biggest things I think that go through a kicker's head is I got to get it up over here and I got to get it off quick. And I think that's why you see the power over accuracy because, yes, they are rushing it. And in warm-ups, you ain't got to rush shit. and I think that's a kind of a big difference now is these kids are getting these kicks off faster and just better. And I think that's one of those other things where growing up, a lot of kids, like, I don't want to be a effing kicker, and most of the kickers in high school and stuff are just soccer players that can kick. And now it's one of those things where it's you can be in middle school and tell your dad I want to be a kicker, and you can be out there until the lights come on outside kicking field goals because you can make a living doing this shit. And
if you can hit a field goal accurately from 50 yards in high school, you're going to college on it.
Yeah, and I think that it's one of those things a lot of people don't understand is more about just repetition than it is actual skill level. I mean, it's it takes some skill, but really this is just muscle memory and repetition. It's one of those things where it's if the NBA had a position on the team that was you just hit free throws. That's kind of the equivalent to me. It's you just have a guy that's out there just stroking free throws all day long doing nothing else. I mean, dude can't dribble worth an F, but he can go out there and drain you a couple of free throws when you need it. That's the type of kids that teams are looking for, where it's we just need somebody to go out here and kick this thing. And it's becoming more opportunistic for young guys, and I think you're seeing kind of the more emphasis on guys wanting to be kickers and wanting that shot because it's look, man, if I can hit, a 66-yarder, I just need to send that tape to anybody. They'll at least give me a tryout. I might not make the team, but I'm going to have NFL teams being might as well show up. I mean,
Yeah, let's see if you can do it twice. I mean, that's the whole thing. Kicking is the easiest position to get into in terms of what you actually need, athletic ability, right? Obviously, you need a leg, right? You need a leg.
Yeah.
You do.
But you can get a leg, though. You can get a leg. Yeah, you can get a leg. That's I've told myself right now, currently, if I were to start tomorrow training to kick field goals from 50 plus, I think I could do it in probably 2 years. I think 2 years of training and repetition, I think I could probably make a team and actually kick field goals if you do it. And I think that's the other thing is it's one of those things you can pick up and do it. You can't pick up and learn to run 4.3. I can't do that. I could do squats till the cows come home. I ain't running no damn 4.3. It just ain't happening.
However, one thing about being a kicker, especially at the next level in terms of the NFL, you do have to have somewhat of an ability to throw the ball accurately too.
Yeah.
So you make sure you have that too if you want to be a kicker at the next level, really. But honestly, I don't know if they would care if you can hit a 70-yarder.
Yeah, I don't think they would either. Who needs a punter at that point? Yeah. Unless we're backed up in our own 20, we're not putting it.
We will see a 70 before the decade ends.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think that, and the reason is because you can work your leg out. You can make it happen. It's possible. But good congratulations for the kid. 66 yards, huge win for Clemson. Like you said, it was a win and get in situation for them. And I'm glad that they let SMU in, like you said, not punishing teams that made it to that extent. Unless
I would have personally assassinated the committee.
Yeah, I mean, but a team that did get left out, Zach, and did get punished. Iowa State. Iowa State gets absolutely cooked, baby. They got cooked, 45-19, baby. Arizona State looked nice. And Scatabo looked real nice. And he looked real nice real early. And
for Miami's in New York and not this kid.
Right. I mean, he's the fifth one. He was the fifth one on their list of the top 10. And I think they should just take all 10. I mean, what's the point? I mean, like, you know 9 of them are going to win. Just take them. Kyle McCord, he was there. He was there, baby. Let's go Cuse. Let's go Orangeman. Come on, baby. Yeah, no. What was your takeaway from this game? Because my takeaway was Iowa State played probably the worst game they played all season and chose like the worst time to play it. And Arizona State just continues to do what they do, which is run the football with a white man that just says, "Get the F out of my way." And and a freshman quarterback that has one of the highest efficiency ratings I've ever seen because he has to like rarely throw the football.
Yeah, it's insane. The Scattergood he is literally built different. Like the way his head is, like he was born to eat D lines up. And that's what he's been doing. I mean, listen, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like the Big 12 is some huge, hard conference in terms of rushing defense. That doesn't matter when you put up the numbers he's putting up. I mean, he's the second best running back in the country, and he'd be having a historic season if it wasn't for Genty. So, yeah, I think this kid is going to play at the Mets. This kid's playing on Sundays. I mean, he's playing on Sundays.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think I mean, he'll at least get a shot. He's going to get a better look than the white running back out of Missouri. I can't even remember his name. That's how well that was. Cody Schrader. Sorry to the Schrader family. But yeah, he hasn't really made an appearance yet. But this guy's different. He's more of a battering ram, and there'll definitely be a team that will take a look at him. It's at least a short yardage back. If anything. But that kind of leads us into this next topic. Zach, Heisman is this weekend, a ceremony in New York. The four finalists, Genty, Hunter, Gabriel, and Cam Ward from Miami. I think we all kind of know the direction this is going, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. The obvious decision would be to hand this to Ashton Genty and be like, look, I mean, these numbers are incredible. We know it's Boise State, but I mean, anybody that's putting up these kind of numbers, you kind of have to give the nod to. And I think everybody in the country knows Boise State's not winning the national title. So, I mean, this would be kind of, in my opinion, adequate to make up for the fact that, like, we know you ain't making it all the way. Me, like, I mean, like, and instead, what we're going to see, Zach, is a player who did play the most snaps in college football, did have top 10 stats as a wide receiver, did have top 15 stats as a defensive back, did have 15 combined touchdowns as far as receiving and pick sixes, win the Heisman Trophy. Now, I understand that that's impressive. I understand that playing both sides of the ball at this level is something that happens once every 25 years, it seems like. I don't believe this will be the last time we see it for sure because of just the way the game is evolving.
Yeah.
But I think that it's hard for me to think that he was even really the best player on that team. I think Shedeur Sanders was the better football player on the team, but I think because Shedeur Sanders doesn't play DB as well as quarterback, I think that kind of hurt him a little bit, and I think it's just this fanfare beyond a guy that's willing to play 1,400 snaps of college football and literally increase the chance of being injured by like tenfold to put on and be good at it. Like, he's not bad at either side of the ball, but he's not somebody that I'm like, man, this is other generational talent. Where you look at Ashton Genty and it's like you're handing this dude the rock and he's giving you 200 yards. And I've said it all year, and I've been a hard criticism of like they're not playing a defense that can stop him. Like let's see how he does against Penn State. Like, and that
he played Oregon, and like he did it against Oregon. Like that's what's frustrating about it for me, because I understand that if Genty wasn't here, Travis Hunter is sure it's a historic season. He should win the Heisman for it, but the Heisman is meant for the best player in the country. Travis Hunter is not the best player on his offense. He's the best player on his defense, but he's not the best defender in the country. He's not the best, and he's not the best player. He's not the best receiver in the country. He's not the best DB in the country. He is pretty good at both. And I get it. Like, that's impressive, just like that you're willing to do that. I don't care. Genty is having a season that has only been beaten by Barry Sanders. No one else has had a season as good as Genty except for Barry Sanders. When people talk about players, some of the best running backs in college football, and they didn't win Heisman, so why should Genty win a Heisman? Well, let's talk about the running backs that did win Heismans. Let's talk about Reggie Bush. Let's talk about Derrick Henry. Let's talk about Mark Ingram. Like, Genty has better stats than all of them, by far. It's not even a contest. I don't understand how any voter in their right mind will not give the Heisman to Ashton Genty. But, and we talked about this, privately. I think this award was decided before a single snap of college football was played.
Yeah, like they were like here's who we're gonna give the award to. If he doesn't play very well, then we'll give it to somebody else. But we're gonna get this engraving done.
They knew they would have Travis Hunter and Dylan Gabriel in New York.
Oh,
they
yeah.
knew that would happen.
Yeah, especially if they were both healthy. I think that was kind of the big thing there. And the other part of this is the fact that, we're not, like you said, we're not talking about Travis Hunter being even the best at either of his positions. Like, Nick Nash is the best statistical wide receiver in the country. Yes, he plays for San Jose State, but if we're gonna go ahead and put Genty on a pedestal, why not Nick Nash? They play in the same conference. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like same level.
Williams.
Say what?
Well, Travis Hunter's not better than Ryan Williams.
No, he's not. That's what I'm saying. But he's not even. I mean, he's not even better than Nick Nash. And Nick Nash, he's not winning anything. Like he
exactly. I mean, he should get some recognition. But let's be real. He has played some bad teams. But it doesn't matter. It's a triple crown.
Yeah, I mean, he leads in receptions, touchdowns, and yards as a wide receiver in college football. They didn't even win the Biletnikoff and lost it to Travis Hunter. If you're going to give the Heisman Trophy to Travis Hunter, give the Biletnikoff to Nick Nash. Like, holy fuck. Like, how hard is it? Like, it's just we just...
with every trophy. He's got like 8 trophies right now, and I get it. He's a special player. I love Travis Hunter. He's exciting. He's really fun to watch. I really enjoy watching Travis Hunter, but let's not kid ourselves. He wasn't the best player in college football. He wasn't the best player in his position. Why does he have all these awards?
Yeah, it's like I mean, just because you can. I mean, I guess if he would have kicked an extra point, you would have given him the Groza. That's what it
is. I mean, it's prime as head coach. That's all it is.
Let him throw one pass and win the Johnny Unitas Award. I mean, like,
he didn't win the fucking dog for his 5 rushes.
Yeah, exactly. Again, yeah, surprise. And they give Ashton Genty the Doak Walker Award because they know they're not going to give him the Heisman. So like, oh, here's your participation trophy.
I think Genty won some Player of the Year award. I don't know which one it was. It wasn't the AP one, but it was.
No. Mountain West Conference Player of the Year.
It was the Maxwell one, I think.
Well, I mean,
I have a question though. I don't know. Maybe you know this. I know the AP voters are mostly media people. The Heisman voters, however, aren't they former players?
No. There are 2 Heisman voters that work at the franchise that I've been in personal contact with that never played a lick professionally. it's also like Dylan Buckingham is a Heisman voter. Ryan Chapman is a Heisman voter. And
Okay, I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
know
yeah, yeah. It's
by players, like former players, and I kind of had hope for a minute. I was like, well, maybe they'll vote him for Heisman because they know ball. But no, see, that's the thing. If it's media, it's going to Travis Hunter.
yeah, like it's another media driven. So it doesn't surprise me what direction we're going um with it. But yeah, I expect Travis Hunter to win the Heisman. I expect it to be everything everybody wants it to be. I expect it to finish second. I expect Cam Ward to finish third and Dylan Gabriel to be here at fourth. Um, I don't know why he would be fourth, but I just think overall, I mean, Cam Ward just a little bit more exciting to watch play. Dylan Gabriel, I love him to death. He's my quarterback. He's my man. He's gonna lead us places that we haven't gone before, which is finishing the job. At least that's what I believe, even with the toughest path. Um, but I think Cam Ward overall, I mean, better statistics. And Miami continuing to be relevant, is good for college football, even if they aren't in the playoff. I think it's still good
Yeah,
to have.
the game against Bama. So
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, they've got some important stuff to finish. Um, so I mean, yeah. So anyways, that's kind of the Heisman situation. Us. Let's kind of get into the bracket here. I put bowl game preview. This will kind of fall under that umbrella. Um, Go ahead and kind of tell us where you think you're at right now here, Zach. Let's go ahead and start with Texas and Clemson. Where are you at here with this matchup?
well, every bracket needs a 12-5 upset, doesn't it? I mean, if you've done March Madness, you know that you have to have a 12-5 upset. And I don't think this is an upset. I think Clemson wins this because they're the better football team, and I don't think Texas is very good. I don't think they've played anybody except Georgia, and when they have, they've lost. So I have Clemson winning this one. I think they've looked really good the last couple of weeks. I think Klubnik is a better quarterback than yours. I think Dabo is a better coach than Sark. I think Clemson is going to win this based on being there before. I know Texas has been there, but Clemson is a whole different. That's national championship pedigree that Texas just doesn't have. And I don't know how. I don't think Texas can stop Klubnik. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think Texas can stop Klubnik. I know that their linebacker just won the Jim Thorpe Award. I work for Paycom. We sponsor that. But I just don't see Texas being able to stop Klubnik and the passing offense at Clemson. So yeah, I have Clemson winning this one. I think they have more impressive wins on the season. I think they've played better teams and have had better results than Texas. The only concern I have, right, is the Georgia game. When Clemson played Georgia, they got blown the fuck out. And Texas has been able to keep it relatively close, especially in the SEC game. But even in the regular season, it was only a 2-touchdown loss. So that's where the common opponents argument kind of comes in, where I'd be a little bit skeptical. But I just think Clemson's going to show up. I don't think Texas is going to be ready. I think Quinn's going to look bad.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. I'm picking Clemson to win this game, and a lot of people think I'm absolutely bananas for this, and most people would think you're bananas for this. But for the points you bring up is why I believe it as well. Look, Quinn Ewers has not been playing well. Klubnik's been playing well. This Clemson team's been playing well. Like you said, they got experience, 2-time national title winning head coach. They've got a defense that is not the best defense that Clemson's had in the past, but the defensive front is good enough to stop the run game from Texas if they decide to commit to it. If you're going to try to take your chances with Quinn Ewers throwing the football, now's the time, baby, because he ain't looking great. And, I think that kind of factors into it. Now, look, you have an extended time off, like you said. I mean, this game is not going to happen for another week. So, I mean, we got time here to kind of let some guys heal up, let some guys do some things that may get them back on the right track. But as of right now, if this game were being played tomorrow, I would be picking Clemson, and I'm still leaning Clemson. And I think this is going to be one of the biggest upsets of the first round. I think this is going to be one of those things where Texas fans are sitting here going, I don't know how this happened. And we're going to be sitting here like, your quarterback didn't show up. Your defense didn't show up. You every time you've played a decent team, you've folded. I mean, Texas A&M. I mean, you could make the debate, but I mean, it hasn't been good.
Let's be honest about it. The only reason this team is number 5 in the country is because their logo is recognizable. All right, like this team isn't as good as people think they are. They have played the entirety of the bottom half of the SEC. They haven't played anybody good. The next best team they played that isn't Georgia is probably OU.
Oh no, it's Texas A&M. It's Texas A&M.
Right, you're right. It's A&M. I'll give it to A&M. I'll give it to A&M. But even A&M, they're not. I forgot about A&M. Like even A&M, they're not good. Like this team isn't good. I don't know why people think they're good. They have fight. I get it. They were 11-1 going into the SEC game. I understand. They didn't play anybody. They played Georgia, and then when they fucking played Georgia, they lost. So I just don't. I didn't understand the hype behind Texas all season. I understand why they have to be ranked high, but yeah. And if we were doing a ranking based purely off of like a power rating of which teams I think are the best, Texas falls somewhere between 9 and 12.
Okay, I feel you on that. I'll go ahead and start us off with this second game. Tennessee traveling up to Columbus to play the Buckeyes. Now, listen to me and listen to me good. Buckeyes are washed, boys. And I don't want to see them again. I'm going to be honest. I don't want to see Ohio State again because I don't have a good feeling. Like the Big Ten Championship was supposed to be the second meeting. Weren't supposed to have a chance to see them again after that. And the thing is I was comfortable seeing Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship because I knew if we lost that game, it wouldn't affect us. Now, if we lose to them, it's going to affect us. And I don't want to see that. And I don't want to see Will Howard getting, another shot. I don't want to see us, in prime position to lose a football game and just hope to God Will Howard has onset CTE with 6 seconds to go. I don't want to have to deal with that. So give me Tennessee. Give me Tennessee and Josh Heupel to go up there to Columbus. It's going to be cold. It's not going to be preferable. But I think that he's been holding back this Tennessee offense for weeks. I think they're going to be unleashed. I think he has been a little bit conservative with Nico. I think he's going to let the kid run a little bit more. I think it's going to be problems. I think Tennessee's defense is good enough to stop Ohio State's offense. Sure, they're going to have some problems in the secondary. I think that's probably the weakest part of this Tennessee defense. If I'm not right, you can correct me on that. But I believe that's what I've been hearing is it's front seven type defense for Tennessee. And if that's the case, sure, you might have some problems with Elijah Smith. You might have some problems with some guys over the middle. But I like the Volunteers here. Give me Tennessee to give you the second upset of the college football playoff. The 9 over the 8, it's not going to look a lot of impressive on paper, but even Ohio State fans are sitting here going, our season was over the minute we lost to Michigan. They don't care.
Yeah, so I have Ohio State winning this one. Just purely off of a couple of factors. One, they're at home, and I think that's going to be a big deal. I don't think Heupel necessarily is going to have the team ready for that performance. But also, I just don't believe in Nico at this point in the season. I don't think he's been that good. And forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think Ohio State still has the best defense in the country. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Listen, it's a rivalry game. I don't like to think about the Michigan game that much because, just like the OU-Texas game, anyone can win that any year. It's really a question of who wants it more. So I don't necessarily hold the Michigan loss against them. If I did, I could see where the Tennessee is coming from. Now, listen, when this bracket first came out, I picked Tennessee. Let me tell you why I picked Tennessee when the bracket first came out. That was before I started thinking about Will Howard, right? And I think Will Howard, maybe this is a hot take. You tell me. I think Will Howard is miles ahead of Nico.
Oh, I
really do. I really
did
do.
you?
I think he looks good.
Did you see the last series when they had a chance to beat Michigan? Did you see those last 3 passes? Look,
how did I say about rivalry games, right? Like
he threw it over the homie's head by like 7 yards.
I don't hold rivalry games against either team or any of the players because it's just different.
We could have played quarterback for Michigan and won that game. I could have thrown that pick at the goal line. I could have done that. I could have short-armed that shit. You You should have won that game by 40. What do you mean? Like, I mean, I know that, like you said, it's a rivalry game, and like I don't know how much Ohio State gave a damn, but those seniors gave a damn. They've never beaten Michigan. Like, you know when the last time an Ohio State like freshman to senior hasn't beaten Michigan? Like forever, man. Like normally Ohio State cooks their ass. Like this is like the last like 4 years have been like a special time for Michigan fans because like they haven't been the ones that have been sucking eggs in this game. But it's like this was a game that like Michigan fans went in going like, boy, we're gonna get fucking cooked. And then like after that goal line interception, they were like, yeah, this is us. Like this is why we were like we can't win this game. And then all hell breaks loose. Yeah, I mean the kicker for Ohio State proving again once again you can go out there and kick, kids. Like you can go out there and kick because he missed a 27 and a 32 yarder. I mean, you want to talk about having your shots? I mean, they wanted to lose this game. I feel like Ohio State lost this game on purpose because they knew like we're gonna get Oregon in the second round. They did this shit on purpose to give me a heart attack. They were like, we want to get paired up for that rematch when it matters. I'm like, no, I don't want to see it. I mean, I'm praying Tennessee wins this game. I know you're probably gonna be right, but I just can't take it. I can't take it. I can't take it.
Tennessee to win because you know Ohio State's the better team.
I can't take it. I can't do it. Like I just don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Please, Josh Heupel, save me.
That Oregon defense, you know he will.
I mean, look. Here's the other half of this is like you said. We're gonna have film. We're gonna fix some things. You know, like I mean, you know, we have experience and stuff behind us, but I mean that path goes fucking both ways, man. Like there's been a lot of games between October 11th and now, like I mean, or 13th or whatever the hell it was.
I believe in Dan Lanning to get the team ready a lot more than I do Ryan Day.
Oh, I think even Ohio State fans would agree with him on that shit.
Well, I mean,
how do you not get your players up for the biggest game of the year against a team that's absolute trash, and then expect me to believe you can get a team up for any game? You can't get a team up for the game. The game, you can't get a team motivated to win that game. That's not good. Like that's why people are like, we need to fire Ryan Day, even though he's got like literally 4 career losses. Like that's some AI CPU NCAA shit when you're firing a coach that has a winning record like that. Like it just doesn't happen. It just
yeah, I kind of gave away my Rose Bowl prediction there, but Verbo Bowl, Fiesta Bowl.
That's right, the Fiesta Bowl. Tell me who you got. Penn State, SMU here, the 6-11 game. Are we gonna see any chance the Ponies make this thing interesting?
Yeah, no, I got Penn State by a lot. I mean, it's a lot. Listen, I know I said SMU's not a team that's fold in the playoffs, but Penn State, it's just a bad matchup. Like their defense.
On the road. Yeah, on the road.
Yeah, that's a wide out.
Yeah, on the road. Snow game. SMU's
just not ready.
No, they're not ready. No.
Listen, if this was being played, if they were playing against, say, Arizona State, if they were playing against
Indiana,
like yeah, I believe in them.
If it was, I wanted SMU Texas more than anything. I'm not gonna lie.
Penn State wideout with that defense, where your offense is your strength and your defense isn't that good for SMU. Yeah, Penn State by a lot.
Yeah,
Penn State.
Tyler Warren triple-digit receiving yard. Yeah, it's gonna get ugly. No, I agree with you. This is a Penn State W. I mean, you're talking about a team from Dallas going on the road to Pennsylvania in a possible whiteout snow game. That's a first playoff game ever for Penn State. Like, no, you're getting cooked. Like, I don't think there's any shot here. The spread on this game, I believe, is 11.5. I could be wrong about that. Am I wrong about that? Hope I'm not wrong.
No, I don't think so. Like this is gonna be a no contest.
Let me see. I'm looking. Yeah, it's 11.5 if Penn State plays Boise. Oh, 8.5. 8.5 is the line here. Penn State by 8.5. Little low.
I picked them by 20.
Yeah, it's gonna get ugly. It's gonna it would be more surprising to me than Clemson beating Texas 110. Like I'm not even joking. That would be more of a shock to me. So I think we're kind of in agreement. That one. Indiana, Notre Dame, in my opinion, the most interesting matchup of the first round. I'm not even going to lie about that. I think it even is above the Tennessee Ohio State game, which is number 2 for me. And the reason I say it is because this is an in-state game where both teams can, I would say equally bring in enough fans, but we know Notre Dame fans aren't going to allow Indiana Hoosier fans to snipe tickets like that. So it's still going to be a very blue and gold and green atmosphere with a little corner of red and white mixed in there. But I think it being an in-state game is kind of more favorable to Indiana. And, again, we're talking about a Notre Dame team that did lose to Northern Illinois this year, and Indiana's only loss is Ohio State. So, I mean, resume-wise here, I mean, the worst loss is definitely in the hands of Notre Dame here. I don't think Indiana would have lost to Northern Illinois, especially, when that happened. But I still have Notre Dame winning this game, Zach, because I think that they're just the better team here. I mean, Riley Leonard is not special. He's not eye popping. He wasn't as big of an impact as I thought he was going to be, as far as you know, like you could say he's an impact because oh, look how relevant Notre Dame is now. But again, super cupcake schedule. I mean, the only tough game they had besides Northern Illinois was USC. And if it wasn't for 2 back-to-back 99-yard pick sixes, I mean, they might have lost that game. I think that I mean, this to me deserves every single bit of the line that they are giving this of 7.5. I think this is going to be a close game. I don't think that Notre Dame's just going to breeze by here, but I do have them winning.
I think Notre Dame's winning by 20. I just don't think Indiana's up for it. At a home game at Notre Dame, they're just not ready. That's just how I feel. I do think it being in-state helps them.
Yeah, no, I mean,
to maybe a brewing rivalry here, but I do think it adds some flames for Indiana. But yeah, I think Marcus Freeman's gonna just blow them out of the water. I mean, Riley Leonard's gonna throw for 300.
We'll see. I think it's going to be a little bit more competitive. I think that when the lights are the brightest, Notre Dame kind of shrinks a little bit, and I think we're going to see that again. But it's not going to be enough for them to lose. That's kind of where I see it.
You're not gonna like my bracket.
I mean, no. You just wait until you hear mine. So second round, me and you both have Clemson playing Arizona State in the second round. I have Clemson moving on from this matchup against Arizona State.
Yep.
I love Arizona State. I think they're a great story. I just think there's a limit here, and I don't think it would matter who Arizona State plays in their game. They're probably losing here. Now, look, I give them a better chance against Texas for sure because you just never know what form of Texas defense you're going to get showing up here. I think Scatabo brings a different element to that, especially if you're going to have Tyson back as well to throw to, which they didn't even have in their win against Iowa State, which is their leading wide receiver. So think about that. There are elements there if they played Texas, but I think again, I don't know why I'm so high on Clemson. I just think that they're just as a unit just complete enough to beat these teams specifically. If Clemson wasn't lined up with this, and if I had it the way I wanted it, where it would have been Clemson playing Penn State and SMU playing Texas in the first round, because I feel like the fans would like that more. I don't know if they would beat Penn State. Like I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if Clemson beats Penn State on the road. I don't see that happening. But they have a very favorable path if they can get past that first round game, and I think that people are kind of underestimating that aspect of it. And I think that a lot of people are also not taking into consideration the strength on strength, weakness on weakness that comes with that Texas Clemson game. So I have Clemson moving on past Arizona State.
Yeah, I do too. For really similar situations, Scatabo I think is going to get a little bit locked up by that Clemson front line. That he hasn't had to play anyone like that yet, and he hasn't had to play anyone of that size yet. So yeah, I'm with you. I have Clemson winning this one pretty easily. I just don't think Arizona State's going to be ready. And really the only matchup to me that matters is Scatabo and the Clemson defensive line. It's just not going to work in Arizona State's favor. So yeah, Clemson.
Yeah. So that goes down to that one. Now I'm going to skip over the one we disagree with and go with another one we agree with.
Yeah.
We got Penn State, Boise State here out in Arizona. No home. Again, these second round games don't have a home field advantage anymore. It's only in the first round, so these are all neutral site games. Look, I love Boise State. I I love what they've done as far as getting to this point, but it's over. Like I'm sorry, but Penn State has one of the easiest paths to get to the Final Four, and
Yeah.
this is another example of just a bigger, better overall team from depth perspective. There's no way that a team stacked as Penn State with Big Ten talent is to a team like Boise State that has like 3 or 4 players on the offensive side and like maybe 2 or 3 on the defensive side that may even get second string reps for Penn State, except for of course at the halfback position.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Let me tell you why I picked Boise State. Number one reason I picked Boise State, you have to go against what you think at least once in a bracket, and that's what I did. I think Penn State's going to win this game, but I'm picking Boise State, and here's why I feel comfortable making this the one that I think is going to be the big upset. And that's because I've seen Boise State play against a better team than Penn State. And Boise State only lost by 1 point to Oregon. So I know Boise State can get up for those games and can be ready for those games. Do I think they'll beat Penn State? No, I wouldn't put money on it. But if you're making a bracket and you have to decide on an upset that you yourself don't even agree with, because you have to do that. In any bracket, you have to do that. This is the game where I think you go with it. So, yeah, listen, Penn State, and it being in a neutral site, I think hurts Penn State a lot. I think Penn State feeds a lot on that home energy, and on the road they're never as good. So neutral site, I think it helps Boise State a lot. I think Genty probably gets a 250-yard game here. That would be the only scenario where I think you could see this kind of upset happening. So yeah, I'm picking Boise to move on in the bracket, but I'm with you in terms of thinking Penn State wins.
Okay, I can deal with that. I can that. Another agreeance matchup here, Notre Dame Georgia here. We kind of touched on this a little earlier, but I just think the lack of Carson Beck really comes back to bite Georgia here.
Yep.
And I think that again, like you said, Marcus Freeman's going to have his tape up on Gunnar Stockton. He's going to disguise everything. He's going to really try to let this young backup quarterback have the book thrown at him as far as how is this guy's football IQ is ready for this moment, and the answer is going to be no. He's not ready for this moment. You're not just going to be able to hand it off to Travis Etienne and just hope that he helps you. But, I mean, it's not going to be enough. Not going to be enough. Give me Notre Dame to move on to the Final Four teams.
Yeah, I actually have the same pick for the exact same reason. We kind of touched on it earlier. Like you said, I just don't believe Stockton's going to be able to beat this Notre Dame defense. And, yeah, that's pretty much everything you said. I mean, I 100% agree. We talked about this one earlier. I just think Marcus Freeman is going to have that tape. I mean, he's going to be able to coach around it. The only doubt I have is just Kirby Smart. He's just so much better. So we'll see what happens in that second half. I predict Notre Dame being up by about 3 touchdowns, seriously, in the first half. So we'll see what happens in that second half. This one I think is going to be a close one, though. I really do. Right there on New Year's Day, this one's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think Notre Dame has got a pair of games where the faithful Catholic congregation will be praying at points. Now we go to the one we disagree on. I'm going to go first here. I'm going to go ahead. Oregon, Tennessee here for me. Obviously, I've got my Ducks beating Tennessee. This is what we need. We need Tennessee to win against Ohio State to give us a little bit more confidence heading into that Final Four matchup against Clemson. Which again, I think both Tennessee and Clemson are inferior opponents. I think we easily coast through both of those games if that were to happen. But speaking about this game specifically from a Tennessee-Oregon standpoint here in the second round, I just think the problems you think that Tennessee will have against Ohio State will be more prevalent and apparent against us. I think it's one of those things where I think our defense is good, and I think that our secondary is phenomenal. And I think that the one thing we struggle with the most is getting pressure on the quarterback. I know we've got DJ Uiagalele's brother down there that's one of the best defensive linemen on our team. I get it. But we saw that he could barely bring down Drew Aller on that fantastic touchdown pass to score late for Penn State. We don't have the defensive line get pressure, which is why our DBs are as good as they are, is because we call on them a little bit more often than we should. But I do think that that's an advantage for us against a player that I think on a neutral site out in Pasadena is going to struggle against a team like us who, again, has that experience and, again, goes against a far better quarterback in practice. So I think that there is a lot to be said about that, and I think that's why we will advance last 14. Go ahead with your dreaded, in my opinion, rematch between Ohio State and my Oregon.
Yeah, this one is really not too complicated for me to pick. I'm picking Oregon to move on, and my reasoning is that I think that Ohio State has been in a slump at the later half of the season. I think that terrible loss to Michigan is really going to put a downer on those seniors at Ohio State. And just like all the situation with the flag planting and everything, I think that that's just a little bit too much noise for Ohio State to be able to overcome this Oregon team again, or to be able to beat them in a rematch. Now, I think it's going to be close for the reasons that you talk about. I think you call on your DBs a little too much. I don't think you can get to the quarterback. I think he's going to have time, and I think that's a problem when the Ohio State receivers have time to get separation against those DBs, who are probably going to be a little tired, going into this game. So I think the rest favors Oregon, which is nice, having that bye through the first round. I think that benefits Oregon. That's probably one of the bigger reasons I'm picking Oregon to win this game. I think it's a close one. It's a rematch. This one is always going to be close in all your future conference games against Ohio State. So, get ready for that. But, yeah, I got Oregon winning in the Rose Bowl in what, honestly, I think is going to be game of the year.
Oh, I don't want it to be game of the year. No, I don't need game. My heart doesn't need game of the year. My heart doesn't need it.
Red and green, baby.
I hope it's nothing like the Georgia OU Rose Bowl game. I hope it's nothing like that. Unless we're Georgia, then I hope it's like that. But
let's talk about that.
Yeah. But anyways, so both of us will have the same matchup in the semifinals as we move down here to the lower portion of the bracket for our first semifinal matchup between Notre Dame and Penn State. We agree on this matchup completely here, and this is where things get weird, baby. Look, I'm picking Penn State, baby. I think we're going to get, instead of a rematch of the SEC Championship, we're going to get a rematch of the Big Ten Championship. And the first part of that is Penn State. I think Penn State has, like I said, the easiest path to get there, especially if Notre Dame can take out Georgia. And even if Georgia were to make it, with Gunnar Stockton behind the helm there for the Bulldogs, I don't think it would matter. I think that Penn State would win that game anyways. Penn State is pretty much, in my opinion, a lock for a national title appearance, and I don't think there's any way, shape, or form around it unless, like Zach says, Marcus Freeman turns this Notre Dame team up a notch and Riley Leonard looks like the player that everybody thought he might be, transferring from Duke into that Notre Dame offense. And I just, have not seen enough, in my opinion, to believe that he can do that consistently enough to get them there. And I think this is the obstacle where, again, you're talking about a game down in Florida in a confined environment with, a really stout Penn State defense that, yes, gave up a lot of points to Oregon, but it's like that's one of the best offenses in the country. Notre Dame statistically is nowhere near that offensively, and I think that Penn State runs the kind of offense that benefits making this game short and making it one of those low-scoring affairs that the Nittany Lions love to win. So give me Penn State in the national championship game.
Yeah, so technically our brackets aren't the same here because I did technically pick Boise State to move on. But if the game that I think is going to happen between Penn State and Notre Dame, I disagree with you. I think Notre Dame wins that one. I think that, like I said, Marcus Freeman, I think he's the better coach, and I think that Penn State, like I said earlier, has trouble in neutral site games or on the road in general when they don't have the fan base behind them. I really, really think that's a huge factor in a lot of their success in recent years. So I have Notre Dame moving on either way against Penn State or Boise State. And Boise State, I don't think takes much explanation. They can't do it twice and they can't get another upset in this playoff bracket. I would have Notre Dame beating them pretty handedly, at least by 2 touchdowns. But in terms of Penn State, Notre Dame, I would still pick Notre Dame to win that one.
All right, so Notre Dame for Zach in the national title game, a national title run for Notre Dame. Notre Dame never won a title when they were in the national title game in my lifetime, so there's that.
Yeah.
Could this be get over the hump time? Well, let's move up to the top side of the bracket.
Number 9.
Top side of the bracket here. Oregon and Clemson in the semifinals. Both of us have this happening in every way, shape, or form. Look, it's Oregon. Okay, I don't think anybody has to think too hard about this one. Again, this is one of those where it's like you're just outgunned, man. Like you're just outgunned. You go against these first two opponents if you're Clemson, and there are spots where you have advantages. And people may be a little blind to the spots where there are advantages against a Texas team that's not particularly performing well against upper echelon D1 teams right now. And I think people are kind of, like you said, glossing over that and glazing them up a little bit too much here. And people look at this Clemson team and go, it's an ACC team. They won. They barely won on a 66-yard field goal. I look at this Clemson team and go, yeah, but all you have to do is win on 66-yard field goals, and that's a win. Like a win's a win. Like this team knows how to win, and that's what I hate about this team. But what I also love about this team is they're doing it with players that, in my opinion, are very much on a lower talent tier than anybody on my Oregon Ducks roster. I think we have them outgunned and outmanned at every position across the board. And I think you're going to see that. And I think, again, this is going to come down to wear and tear. You're talking about a Clemson team that's going to have to play 3 games. And if they win, they're going to play 4 games. I guarantee you I wouldn't love them in your matchup against Notre Dame if Clemson were to beat us. I'll give you that much because I just think the wear and tear of having to play 4 games, especially, even though they are weeks apart here, I get that. It's still more games than other teams that you're going to have to play are going to have to do. You're still going to be more tired. You're still going to be more worn down. You're still going to have the higher possibility of going into those games without having your full healthy roster, which, again, nobody's healthy at this point in the season, but you get what I'm saying. So, yeah, I have Oregon moving on here, and I have Oregon and Penn State in my national championship.
Yeah, so I have Oregon moving on for all the reasons you said. I don't think I have to add too much here. I mean, they're just better at every position than Clemson. It's not even a competition, I think. This one is going to be an easy game. I really think that most of these games are going to be decided pretty handily, except for a handful in the second round. But, yeah, I have Oregon moving on. I have Oregon and Notre Dame playing in my national championship. And, personally, Notre Dame has been really, really good this season, I think. They have that loss to NIU. Shit happens. That's a fluke accident, I think. Notre Dame has shown that they're, in my opinion, a top 5 team all year outside of that 1 week. So I have Oregon winning the national championship. I really do. They're the better team. They're consistently have shown that they're the best team in the country. They've knocked out Ohio State. They've knocked out Boise State. I mean, they've knocked out Big Ten teams left and right. I don't have any qualms by saying that I think the Oregon Ducks are about to finish the season 16-0.
Yeah, I like that. And again, I think people forget that Notre Dame did play and beat 4 ranked opponents this season.
Yeah.
And people forget because the games weren't very memorable. Now, if you recall, Zach, the first big win of the season was Texas A&M in the first week. I mean, winning that game by 10. Now, at the time, I don't think
Kyle
Field. And at the time, I don't know how good people thought Texas A&M was going to be at the time, and I think them starting out 0-1, a lot of people were like, well, this Texas A&M team probably isn't going to be very good, so a lot of people didn't put too much stock in it. Then when you follow it up with losing in Northern Illinois the next week, the impression is, boy, Texas A&M really bad, and Notre Dame maybe just as bad. Like, that was the impression 2 weeks into the season. Tell me if I'm wrong, because I think I'm not wrong when I say that.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I didn't think they were going to be very good, but then they just kept winning.
Yeah, so like you said, as the season progresses, they blow out Purdue. They blow out Miami of Ohio. They only beat Louisville by 7 points at home. But again, this is a Louisville team where at the time people were talking about them possibly being an ACC title contender in a playoff consideration at that time. Obviously, they fell off and really didn't end up being even as competitive as Texas A&M ended up being, since they actually got to play for a shot to go to the SEC championship. Louisville didn't even have a shot at sneaking in the SEC title. So there's those comparisons there. You blow out Stanford. You beat a very good, above average Georgia Tech team by 28. Sorry, by 18 points. I mean, that's impressive considering the wins that Georgia Tech has on their season. They're no slouch team. You blow out a Navy team that a lot of people were high on, and that game was not even close. Talking about a 37-point win there. The Florida State Virginia wins don't do anything for you, but nobody thought preseason that Florida State would be as bad as they are. So that was gonna probably be another ranked win that they could have had, but ended up being a nothing doesn't matter game. Then you had Army, which is going to play this weekend, and you beat them by 35 points. I mean, this Notre Dame team that a lot of people, including myself, were shitting on because we just look at this Northern Illinois game and go garbage. I think that, like you said, we are underestimating it because that's all we remember. Because again, none of these other games are even memorable, and the one that should be, which should be the Texas A&M game, because at the end of the year, that's the team that was ranked the highest that they have on their schedule now as a win. It didn't seem to matter because of what happened and transpired the following week against the Huskies. So I mean, it's a really weird team because you have every right to sit here and go, they are going to make the national title game. And I'm sitting here going, I don't see it. And then I pull up the schedule, look at it, I go, you know what? They could beat Penn State. They could, Georgia with a backup quarterback. I kind of like it. It makes more sense when you put it in the context of look at the teams that they played and where those teams ended up, at the end of the year and where people thought they were going to be at the beginning of the year and kind of compare the two as far as expectations and what ended up being reality. And I kind of get where you're coming from more with this Notre Dame over Penn State scenario that you've got going on.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm assuming you have the Ducks as well.
I don't. I have Penn State winning your national championship. No, I have the Ducks. No, we have to finish. I think it's one of these years where if we don't finish, I'm going to look back on this year in like 20 years when we still haven't won one, and I'll be like, that this was the chance. Like, I mean, like it's you look at the path that we've got laid out for us. Even if, like you said, Ohio State beats Tennessee and we have to play them again, I mean, this is a you're gonna earn it kind of path for Oregon, and a lot of people like to move Texas into this Final Four conversation where we would have to play them on our way to play possibly, like you said, Notre Dame, or as some people, still have Georgia there because they believe Gunnar Stockton do enough. Some people say he's even better than Carson Beck. We just don't know it yet. I don't think that that's reality. I think they're drinking a little bit of the Kool-Aid, baby. I mean, I don't think this is a bench Spencer Rattler throw in Caleb Williams situation at Georgia. I don't think we're looking at something like that happening. So maybe pump the brakes on that a little bit. But I think both of our scenarios here are very likely. I think your Boise State over Penn State pick is really gutsy. And I think it's definitely more gutsy than my Tennessee over Ohio State pick for sure. I think I think the bold meter there is maxed out. I think the only thing that either of us could have said that could have burst the bold meter beyond that would have been one of us picking SMU to beat Penn State, because I just can't wrap my head around that happening. Unfortunately for Mustang fans, I just don't see that happening. And Arizona State fans as well. I mean, as an Oregon Ducks fan, I would love to see Arizona State instead of Clemson, because I think that would be even an easier win for us than Clemson, despite their seeding. And I would like the old Pac-12 vibes. Give me some old Pac-12 vibes. I'm not going to hate that feel as well. So overall, I mean, I think this is kind of it, Zach. We're not really at much of a headbutt impasse as maybe people thought we might be, but we have a couple key games here that could shape out kind of how people feel at the end of the season. Go ahead and give me what would be your most disappointing matchup in the national title game. What would be the one where you're like, man, do I even want to watch this shit? I mean, like, what would it be? Realistically, not like picking the last two seeds. Like, obviously, that's not going to happen. Like, I mean,
I think the game that I would hate to see the most is Texas and Penn State. That's just screaming 6-3 and just bad football.
Yeah,
I don't really have a reason, but I hate Texas, so I have to throw Texas in there. But I picked Penn State just because I think that they are a team that plays boring football. So yeah, that would be the matchup I think I would hate to see the most.
Yeah, I think if you end up being right, and Boise State beat Penn State, which again is breaking the and somehow, some way Notre Dame folds, I think my nightmare matchup would be Clemson and Boise State. I think that would be my
Yeah.
nightmare matchup because it is possible that Boise State could find themselves in that position. I'm not putting it past Boise State to not beat a team like Notre Dame because again, all you have to do is bring up Northern Illinois and go, it could happen, and no one can say anything. Like you're like, yeah, you're right, it could. I mean, we've seen it. I mean,
the rematch with the Ducks. I don't know what you're talking about. That's what they want.
oh
They
no,
want
that's that's what their coach is saying is you want the opportunity to go and beat these guys again, you know what you have to do. And I think that's going to be the motivating factor. And look, I think you put a lot of stock into Boise State playing Oregon in the beginning of the year. And I said this after it happened. After I said, look, I mean, it doesn't look good for us because I felt like we could have handled that game a lot better. But I also felt like it was advantageous for Boise State to have that game in week 2 than to play us in this where we're at now. I think it would be a totally different outcome than it was the first time. I don't think it would be as entertaining. I think we would probably kill them. But I think that's because, again, I think we came into that game going, it's Boise State. They got a really good running back. Like, he's supposed to have a good year. Let's lock him up and let's just go home. Like, I mean, I think that they weren't taking Boise State seriously. They were like, come on, man. I mean, they're like, yeah, people think they're going to, do really good in their conference, but like, look at their fucking conference. It has fucking nobody in it. Like, yeah, they're going to do fucking great. They're the best team in the conference. Like, who's going to compete with them? UNLV? Like, maybe. I mean, but it's like that was the only team. Maybe some people were throwing out San Jose State, but I mean, like, there wasn't a team on there that people were like, yeah, like they're going to be undoubtedly a roadblock for Boise State running the table in the Mountain West. I don't think there was anybody that was like, this for sure is going to be tough for them. And I think that when you have players that know that like we're supposed to be better than them, and you pile all that information in, especially that early in the season before you really know how good a team is, kind of take them lightly, and I think we kind of did. And so I think when people are like, oh, like look at the numbers he put against Oregon like week 2 and all this stuff, like he's played good defenses. Yeah, he played a defense that didn't respect him. Did not respect him at all. We were like, he's good. Like we weren't even like we're going against a Heisman candidate running back. We weren't saying that at week 2. No one was saying that week 2. Like you're like, he's their best player. Like that's all that went into the scouting report. He's their best player. I guarantee you that's how it went in film. They broke down which holes are going to be open, where you got to hit them. And what ended up happening, their quarterback, my man Madsen out here, ended up cooking us in the passing game more than even Genty cooked us in the running game. And that's what kind of surprised us the most, is because the kid's kind of got an arm. And I think people forget that Madsen's got an arm. And I think that a lot of these teams are going to be reminded very quickly that they're not just a one-dimensional offense. So I could definitely see Boise State moving into that position to give me my nightmare scenario.
Yeah. If I'm Boise State, I'm looking at Oregon like, hey, we did it once. We got close. So I think I'd be a little bit more confident in Boise State, if it was an Oregon matchup.
Yeah, and obviously, and what would be your most sought after matchup? What would be the one where you're like, I can't miss this?
I think Oregon and Boise State is the one that I'd be like, I want to see this. So yeah.
Yeah, I think you're also correct in watchability here, because I think, unfortunately for us, as far as entertainment goes as fans, I think most of the good games are going to happen in the first 2 rounds. Like I think that like you said, it's going to be kind of like March Madness, right? We get all the fun stuff in the first 2 rounds, and then the rest of it's kind of like, the bad teams end up losing, the good teams end up winning most of the time. I mean, the chaos kind of settles, and I think we're going to have the same kind of thing. I think, like you said, we're going to have, I believe, at least one upset in the first round, possibly 1 or 2 in the second round, and those numbers can flip-flop. But I think overall, I'm looking at 3 to 4 upsets, possibly max here, at any stage in this playoff. I think that you're looking at something like that being possible.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Look, that's CFP. That's CFP for you. Let's quickly run through NFL big deal, no big deal, and then we'll get out of here with our only sportsbook pick of the week. Zach's got a whole $1. He's laying on this Surface Academy game, baby, and I've got something close to that. I'll have to check, but I know I lost 2 out of my 6 picks over the weekend, so I go 4-2 over the weekend. Zach goes 2-0. I guess first parlay win of the season for either of us. Congratulations to Zach. It took being in the depths of hell to rise again from the ashes. Zach, aka the Phoenix Gambler, Huffman out here making it look possible. The motto is never give up. Never give up, and scared money don't make no money. And we go hard in the.
I did that on the field. It's just I'll put all my faith in God.
All right, let's cue the music. Let's get this thing going. NFL Films music in the background. We got it. Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, and guess what else is beautiful? It's scoreboard time, baby. We're starting with Sunday's games. We already touched on Thursday's Lions 34-31 victory over the Packers on December 5th. Big win for the Lions there. Let's skip to Sunday, Zach. Big deal, no big deal. Seahawks beat the Cardinals 30-18. Are the Cardinals in trouble here?
No, I don't think the Cardinals are necessarily in trouble. They're probably not looking into the playoffs, but the Seahawks, big deal for them. They kind of clinch what I think is their playoff spot. They're leading that division, and they're going to be in the playoffs probably for it.
Yep. Jaguars beat the Titans 10-6. One of the 2 worst teams in the NFL, giving us one of the worst games I've ever even watched, even red zone wise. Just holy F, kill me. Big deal, no big deal for Mac Jones, baby. Mac Jones, baby. No big deal for either of those teams. They both stink. Dolphins get the win over the Jets in overtime. Zach, the Jets led most of the way here, but Aaron Rodgers gives in to his dark room thoughts. The ayahuasca flowing through, the Percocets hitting just right, and the Jets lose again. Big deal, no big deal.
I'm going to say no big deal. Good game from Tyreek Hill, kind of getting his stride back a little bit. Other than that, no big deal. Neither of these teams matter.
Vikings get the win over ex-starting quarterback Kirk Cousins and the Falcons 42-21. Kirk Cousins throwing so many picks left and right. Sam Darnold, 5 touchdown passes. Your NFL MVP, Sam Darnold, baby. Your thoughts, big deal, no big deal?
347 yards, Sam Darnold, big deal. 5 tutties, 22 of 20.
Woo!
About give me MVP.
Saquon who? Saquon who?
Give Sam Darnold the MVP.
Yeah.
No big deal, though.
Yeah, no big deal as far as the team winning, but big deal for Sammy D. Saints get the win over the Giants 14-11 in the backup quarterback extravaganza of the year for the Giants. Drew Lock, 227 yards and a pick, was the leading passer for this game, but the Saints get the win, but they lose Taysom Hill. Big deal, no big deal?
I mean, no big deal. This game was shit. Drew Lock threw more incomplete passes than complete passes. I mean, you don't like that.
Don't like that.
So yeah, no big deal. I hate this game.
Yeah. Eagles get the win over the Panthers 22-16. Xavier Legette had a chance to pull in a dime from Bryce Young and dropped it like a call out in the Sahara, and the Eagles escape, Zach. I mean, big deal, no big deal. I'm going to go ahead and say big deal for the Panthers because you had a shot to win that game. I think you got a shot
to win the game, and I think Bryce Young will play Jalen Hurts.
He did. He 100% did. He was a leading passer, 19-34, 191 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, but the quad father, Saquon Barkley, he got in there.
Yeah, well, you know who the savior of the game was for the Panthers? The one and only, ever aging like fine wine, Adam Thielen, baby. My man had some big 4th down catches. He's the 3rd 4th down target for anybody that's playing quarterback in a Panthers jersey, no matter if it's Bryce Young or Andy Dalton. And he proved it again, hauling in a big 4th and 7 to give them a chance to win that game. But Xavier Legette, man, get some hands, dog. Like, you had that. Like, I would have caught that ball in my sleep, homie. Like, oh.
He was a cartoon for Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, no big deal for the Eagles. Big deal for the Panthers for keeping that competitive and looking positively into this weekend. Steelers get the win over the Browns, Zach, 27-14. Big deal, no big deal for Russell Wilson. Russ Cook.
No big deal. Not really a big deal at all. The Browns are pretty bad. 10-3 Steelers. They're looking really good. I thought Najee was pretty good, but yeah, not a big deal.
Do I call the hotline if I pick the Steelers to win the Super Bowl?
No.
Yeah, see, there you go. The dark horse pick, folks. Put some cash on it. You might lose it all, but I mean, like, they got a path.
My
Tomlin, baby. Buccaneers get the win over the Raiders, Zach, 28-13. Baker Mayfield, 295, 3 touchdowns. Big deal, no big deal.
No big deal. Raiders suck.
They stink. Rams get the win over the Bills at home, Zach. Bills had a shot here to win, to tie this thing up, and again, Sean McDermott, do you need a course on time management? You have 3 timeouts. How do you blow a timeout when you know you can't do it? Let the clock run. You need all 3 of them to give your defense a chance to stop them on 3 plays. Instead, you force yourself to do an onside kick, which 23% of teams in the NFL have recovered this season. I hate it. Sean McDermott, you effing moron. Big deal, no big deal. Rams get the win.
Yeah, I mean, not really a big deal. Josh Allen, first player with 3 touchdown passes and 3 touchdown runs in one game. He's probably going to win the MVP. So, probably a big deal for that. That was his MVP moment.
Big deal for the Josh Allen MVP race. 49ers blow out the Bears, Zach, 38-13. Big deal, no big deal.
Yeah, not a big deal. The Bears suck.
Bears stink. First game without Matt Eberflus didn't look good, but I don't know if it would have looked any better. Whoever was coaching on the sideline, that is a lopsided matchup there. Chiefs Chargers, another satanic ritual performed by the Chiefs to get the win. 19-17 is off the upright and in. The doink goes in for the Chiefs. They win 19-17. Big deal, no big deal. The positive doink for the Chiefs.
Someone like had to sacrifice a child or something. Something happened, but you know what? That was a big deal for that. But you know what was even a weirder situation? What happened in the Bengals and the Cowboys game on Monday night, right? Where the Cowboys have an easy chance to be able to kind of get this one back. Maybe we can get the punt, maybe get a field goal, win the game against the Bengals, who were probably just as good as. But no, we did something better. We blocked the punt. And guess what? When we blocked the punt, we didn't know how to pick up a football. So we just kept rolling. And then the Bengals recovered it and returned it to a better spot where they get a first down. Isn't that insane how the Cowboys are so bad at football?
Yep, 2 plays later, Jamar Chase, touchdown. Bengals, and they escape 27-20. Look, I'm not going to blame Owarie for getting in, for not picking up the football. I'll tell you why. People are like, why would you touch it? Why would you touch it? Look, nobody's talking about this. I'm going to talk about it, and I'm going to get your opinion here. I think the only reason he tried to pick that ball up, Zach, is because he thought he couldn't get out of the way of it. I think he saw it bounce and go, oh my God, I don't have enough time to, dodge this thing. I'm going to go ahead and try to catch it because, I mean, if I'm going to touch it, I might as well give myself a chance to, get on top of it. And he's just not a receiver. And I think that's just, I think it was the fact that he thought he couldn't get out of the way. Nobody's bringing up the fact that, the ball was right there. It bounces sideways. It's heading right at him. And I think he was like, I'm going 20 miles an hour. I'm about to have to, stop on a dime and blow my Achilles. Or I'm going to have to try to catch this football because it's touching me. Your thoughts?
Did it on purpose. I think he was trying to get in and return it for the touchdown, win the game.
You really think he was doing the whole onside kick touchdown that the Commanders did? I just don't. There was no path for that though. You had 4 black jerseys in front of you. Where are you going with that football? They're going to tackle you immediately.
The Cowboys aren't good at football. I think that was intentional.
I mean, if you're gonna tank, I guess tank. He was signed off the practice squad a day before. He's been hurt a bunch. So tough way to get your name out there in that situation. But like you said, Dallas continues to find a way to lose. No big deal for that, but big deal as far as the weirdness going on last week in the NFL. We'll go ahead and touch on this game since it happened yesterday. Rams get the win over the 49ers 12-6 Thursday Night Football. No touchdowns in this game, Zach. It was not a pleasant viewing unless, like you said, you were a favor of Big Ten-esque, defensive-minded football in the pouring sideways rain.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting to watch to see how they navigate it. But yeah, in terms of scoring and action and boring game, you expected kind of a huge game from like Puka or something, but no, not even that. Some good catches. He caught that one off the helmet. I thought was cool. But yeah, nothing really going on this game.
Yeah, 7 catches and 97 yards. Not a bad outing, but it seemed pedestrian considering the circumstances. Kyron Williams, 29 carries, 108 yards. And Matthew Stafford, who usually lights it up, 16 and 27, 160 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. That's just because the rain was coming down in sheets all game long. And that is your NFL big deal, no big deal. Which means it's time, folks. It's time for the national anthem. Put your hands over your hearts. It's Service Academy time here at the Sports Book. Salutes to all of you service members out there making this country a very safe place for corporations around America. Not the general public, but just the corporations that continue to anally probe us with sandpaper condoms constantly throughout the duration of our lifetimes. So here we go, Zach. You've got $1. You were 2 for 2. You had your Georgia Clemson parlay money line that hit like crack. So you are 2-0 over the weekend. I lose 20 cents, so I've only got 40 cents to work with. But we've got Army, we've got Navy. Navy 6-point underdogs to the Army Black Knights in this one. Who have you got? Oh, and the over-under is 39.5. Go ahead and give me what we're doing. Money line, spread, or over-under total here for Army Navy.
I got Army covering that 6. I think they're going to beat them by multiple touchdowns. So I got Army to win by more than 6.
Army -6, and the dollar will get you back to $2, so you'll double your money up with that one. Heading into bowl game action, as there are bowl games tomorrow. We will.
Hold on.
Yes.
Let me do something real quick. Let me split 50 cents here.
Oh, you're gonna pick one. Okay. What's the second pick here?
Over 39.5.
These picks cannot be parlays. But you would double your money and end up with $2 anyways. So if you get both of them right, or if you get just the Army right and all your money, you're coming in with $1 and leaving with $2.
Probably be able to parlay them. Never mind. All right, never mind.
Now you could parlay the bowl games with it if you want to go Western Michigan, South Alabama here. They don't even have the Jackson State line on here.
I'm touching that.
All right, so we got $1 on Army. Minus the 6, that'll give him $2 on the return there for that one. I've got 40 cents, and you know what? I'm gonna do what you did. Only I'm gonna go with, like you said, I'm gonna go over 39.5 here, and that will give me on 40 cents 75 cents. So almost doubled there for me as well. So I'm gonna take the over. He's taking Army. So those are our picks for the Sportsbook this week. We'll see next episode. Zach, any final thoughts before we get out of here? First of all, let's go ahead and just quickly give picks here. South Alabama, Western Michigan. South Alabama favored to start off your bowl game. Who you got winning there, brother?
Yeah, South Alabama.
South Alabama. 76% of ESPN agrees with you. South Alabama over Western Michigan Broncos. The other game, Jackson State against South Carolina State. Who you got in that one?
South Carolina State.
You've got South Carolina State. They are the underdogs in this one, but Jackson State 11-2 on the year. South Carolina State 9-2. Might be a better game than people think. Again, no line on DraftKings. I'm sure you can probably find a line somewhere, but not on DraftKings.
ESPN is actually South Carolina State minus 2.5.
Ooh, minus 2.5 for the Bulldogs. I like it, baby. So those are your picks. I'm picking Jackson State. I'm gonna go Jackson State, South Alabama. I'm going Big Cat Weekend, baby. I'm going Jags and Tigers all weekend long. Look, and as far as Navy Army, as far as picking a winner, give me Army. They're just the better team.
There you go. Easy.
All right, well, all of us back here at st0ner Sports Radio Studio, enjoy the beginning of your Bowl Mania season. We won't be doing any Bowl Mania contests considering it does start tomorrow and we film these on Fridays, but we do have our bracket challenge open for y'all. I will leave a link in the description for that, so make sure you get in on the CFP bracket, and we'll kind of see how you guys do if you choose to partake in that. We'll also have the link in the tweet that you will see on our social medias, and we will also have the link in the YouTube shorts we will have running as well over the weekend for content pleasure. For all of us back here, enjoy your weekend. Zach, any final words?
I would say tell all the people you know in your life that are part of the younger generation to look up Mike Conley, Grizzlies tape.
And I will say look up Brandon Roy. Brandon Roy. Brandon Roy, good night, Canada.
Beautiful.